1-0 to the Arsenal. 1-0.
It's happened again.
Hello and welcome to a very happy North Bank podcast on this Sunday evening. Hi guys, Steph and Chris as ever. How you doing?
Hello, mate.
Oh, listen to that voice.
Who's been at the game?
I couldn't possibly say. I literally.
Literally.
We are not worthy. We are not worthy.
So, Steph, you got back about half an hour ago, didn't you?
If that, to be honest. Just walked in, had enough time to grab a drink, and then...
Fair play. So, did you enjoy your day?
Do you know, there were some small patches in the day which were not so enjoyable, but overall...
Or like Tottenham?
It's been a brilliant day.
We don't need to dwell too long on your walk down from Seven Sisters Tube to the ground. I'm sure that was a bit hairy, scary in both directions, but at least on the way back you had a smile or a warm glow to suppress, whereas on the way there it was... On the way there, it was just a nervous anxiety, thinking, "Why have I done this again?" But how was the atmosphere?
The atmosphere was good. You say that about a sort of hairy, scary walk up the high road at Tottenham. It did feel a little bit quiet. I don't know. It was
2 p.m. kickoff. Maybe?
Well, I suggested that, and there's a little bit of. I don't know. It's not the most positive, place in the world at the minute.
I was thinking a lot about what Holly said in the last pod, is that there was a sort of an expectancy that we're probably going to get turned over. I mean, as a Spurs fan, if Arsenal are at full strength, but maybe the nerves had kicked in a bit because there was a little bit more expectation on them to do better because we were weaker. So I don't know whether there was that sense of nerves amongst the Spurs lot.
I don't make a habit of surrounding myself with Spurs fans, but I did encounter quite a few during the week, and it was really funny to note that the shift in psychology. All of a sudden, they had expectation, and they were almost in a lose-lose. This is their perspective. This is what they were articulating to me. It's not me kind of just trying to kind of project my feelings onto how they must be thinking, but they were like, "Oh God, no!" We were happy being the underdogs. Because he talks about the bookies. The bookies had it as a pretty even. It was 6-4 for both teams to win the game. So the bookies weren't calling it. They were saying it was pretty 50-50. But I mean, I've written down dogged, determined, and deserved. Because I have to be alliterative as an English teacher. But those are the three words that came to my mind. And I've seen on TikTok quite a few Spurs fan accounts, and they've been quite gracious. They've said, no, Arsenal played it brilliantly, and they've got no complaints over there. They're very angry about their team, but actually they were very gracious in how they were praising how Arsenal set out. I mean, it pretty much was exactly the type of game I thought it would be. I didn't think there'd be a lot of goals in it, unlike previous clashes at their ground. I thought we would set up, and I suppose on behalf of us all, I should offer the team an apology that none of us backed them to win. And I must admit, when I saw the team's selection, I saw the Spurs team, and I thought, you know what? We should win this. We're even with our starting 11. We've got Jorginho and Partey in there. They're not a disaster area, even though I do think they were our two weaker players. But we can get on. We can get on to that. What was the atmosphere like pre-kickoff, and then after the first 10 minutes, where Spurs did start the game pretty well? What was the atmosphere, the feeling in the ground, Steph?
So it's funny, pretty much all the build-up and everyone I spoke to, including all the people I sort of travelled down with, were all, I think it was more the unknown that was just, because we know how we've set up, and the two players missing, Odegaard and Rice, your captain and your record signing who was ever present last season. It was going to be different, no matter how we kind of approached it. So I think the unknown was just there. And yeah, all right, none of us predicted a victory, but, I've got the fact that I rarely do on my side, but also
Okay, I'll apologise on behalf of me and Chris.
but also on, when we talked about this before, I did sort of say that after my Odegaard grief had died down, it's still the best defence in the league. And, we were always going to be, solid in that area. And so it proved that probably was the huge strength of the team, that there's just such a solid foundation on which other players can, perform. Can
I jump in there and give you that stat? You may not have seen it, or I'm sure you're aware of it, but it came up on the screen. We're unbeaten away from home in 2024, yes, which is impressive. But our last 11 away games, we've won 10 and drawn 1. We've scored 31, conceded 3.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. Do you know how many minutes? Do you know how many minutes in those 11 away games we've been behind in? Right.
So this is what they said on the radio.
0.
We haven't. We've not been behind.
It's just a phenomenal record, and this is why I feel like I need to apologise, because we weren't missing Saliba and Gabriel. Maybe we might have been justified in being a little bit cautious. All right, we missed the screen that Rice provides in front of them.
Yeah.
But we had 2 players doing that job today, which is why we sat back and hit them on the counter. That was always our plan. They dominated possession, Spurs, but...
What does that mean ultimately when it's benign possession?
Well, it's like latter-day Wenger possession, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
and it's why, that you can get bogged down in all sorts of stats, but it's about moments. And we took ours and they didn't theirs, and it can be that simple sometimes. And I suppose it shows a certain amount of humility, that there was a certain containment that we were playing. That we did sort of struggle to get a foothold in the game, I think, to begin with. Spurs did start, quite quickly, very directly. And on the one hand, the people around us were sort of looking, going, we need to switch on here and maybe do a little bit better. But I did have a thought aloud at one point where I said, but they could also run out of steam as well. And this is fine. We've got David Raya, by the way, early save, palmed away that cross that kind of, eluded everyone, and just his handling, decision-making all day, absolutely first class. And when we have that to build on, then we could take on Spurs a little bit and let them come at us, because we knew they would. That's all they do. And it was really interesting listening to some of the Spurs fans on the football phone-in shows, sort of driving back, because the presenter, I can't remember who it was, and the pundit that was on were sort of talking about, it's all well and good playing a high line, but what it does is then compress the opposition team, and you've got no space in which to operate. And they were saying someone like Maddison in the Spurs midfield, what he wants is a bit of time and space, but also runners and areas to play the ball into. And it was almost like they were restricting themselves a little bit, whereas we were happy to do that because we've got these players that absolutely love defending, and we love cheering them defending. It was absolutely brilliant. But then we can release that valve if we want to, because Saka can run, and Martinelli was really busy in the first half and was direct in his own way. Not perfect.
No, I thought defensively he was brilliant.
I thought he played brilliantly, and that was the thing. It's about the collective, isn't it? You know, we can all sit here and think, Martinelli's end product and blah blah blah, but actually, just away from home. Look, you said that stat. However many games it is this year, unbeaten away, not been behind. That's because everyone's buying in, and it's just magic to see, and it feeds into the away end. The away end's just so good at the moment that it's why for 3 or 4 years I've been saying, right, I'm going to do fewer away games. The time, the money, the blow. But it's just you can't let go. It's just amazing.
Are you going to City next Sunday?
Yeah, I'm going to City next Sunday. City.
I
Where
mean,
we never win.
No, but we drew last year and they didn't score.
Yeah, and they will be thinking about us. That's the thing. Before, I don't think they really gave us a second thought. It was a case of, well, we've got the quality and they'll make a mistake, so we'll just play it out. Whereas now, Pep will be second guessing himself because Rice will come back in. He'll be wondering what Arteta will do with Odegaard out. Yeah, bring it on.
If he's out,
well, bring it on either way.
I'm a little bit concerned that Saka went off injured and they didn't just say straight away cramp. So I'm a little bit
knock. I think that's good.
It looked muscular. It looks muscular to us.
Yeah, I thought it might have been a hammy.
But yeah, I don't know. I said before the game, like on our previous preview pod, I said I think we'll approach this like a City away game. Sit back and think, and it's a good dress rehearsal for next Sunday because I think we'll play exactly the same way, regardless of personnel. I think we'll set out the same way. Now, if we make the few errors next Sunday that we made today, we will get punished. Solanke's chance in the first half, Haaland's not going to miss that. So we do need to be a bit. Having said that, Rice will definitely be back on barring injuries on Thursday night. Yeah. So 10, 15 minutes in, kind of just, I don't know, half time, Chris, you were thinking, this is okay. It was playing into how we'd set out, and whilst there was dithering, I do think Partey and Jorginho got caught in possession a little bit too often.
And Trossard at one point was pretty egregious in losing the ball. And Martinelli was a bit profligate. Get your head up. He had that shot. I mean, he had to do one of two things: either drive forward and cut in front of Van der Ven, and then have the much wider goal to aim at, or square it for Saka. And he did neither of those two things. He shot too early, and it was too easily telegraphed. But yeah, how were you in the ground? Sorry, go on, Chris.
No, just in terms of how I felt at half time, a lot more relaxed certainly than the last game, last season's game, because we were in control. As I said earlier about the possession, the stat about possession, it's meaningless really when you're. I think Son said in an interview after today's game, we controlled it. Well, did you?
No, we let you.
You can control a game without having the ball, and I think that's what I was pleased with in the first half. Is we could have made more of our chances, but we largely controlled that half. That's how it felt to me. So I wasn't feeling down at all, or that anxious. So I
mean, the context for the game from an Arsenal perspective just warrants some acknowledgement. We dropped 2 points unjustly against Brighton in the previous game. Man City have started at a rate of knots, winning 4 from 4. And we're going away to Spurs knowing if we don't beat them, not draw, if we don't beat them, we're 5 points behind City and we go to City next weekend. We could be 8 points behind City come 6 o'clock next Sunday afternoon. Within that context, that was impressive.
Yeah.
That really was impressive. We're a proper team. This is a different Arsenal beast to the one that we've been conditioned by in the previous 7 or 8 years.
And this is
proper
why
squad.
I have to keep going.
Squad.
I have to keep going because I've paid my penance. I've been to those, chasing
Palace away.
Palace in particular, obviously, is the notable one. But you're not fit to wear the shirt chants going around. Because when I started getting away tickets and being able to go to my first London derbies at Tottenham, we couldn't buy a win. Because, Kane had come to the fore and our team was one that was really kind of wilting or in transition. And so to be the force that we are now, like you say, a proper team, it's just so good to see. It's funny you say that about feeling like we were in control, though, because I think the one slight difference is that we weren't all particularly convinced. We all knew it would be a bit of a tight affair, but I think when you're in the ground, and particularly in the way end where it's kind of concentrated, that you want that bit more urgency. You want to be creating chances because you're chasing that high of scoring the goal. So I think everyone was, maybe a little bit disappointed with those few sort of errors, giving the ball away that probably stuck out a little bit, but also knew that we could play better, which you felt like Spurs perhaps didn't have much more that they could do differently other than take their chances. And I know Postecoglou said that in his post-match interview, that those are the differences.
That's why, looking at the bench as well, I didn't think Spurs they might have had greater depth on the bench, but they didn't have better players on the bench than the ones who started. So whereas we potentially did in Jesus and Sterling, but also Nwaneri, and we'll come on to the substitutions. I thought he was pretty good when he came on, and lovely that he was actually trusted to come on as well, because that was no come on at 5-0 and coast it. That was proper backs to the wall. You're the first line of defence, and actually he created 2 or 3 opportunities that on another day could have turned into something more productive than they did.
Well, at the very least, I think one of his first involvements was where he let the ball kind of come over his shoulder and then looked like he was going to take the ball, only for a Spurs player to basically slip on their arse, which for the away end was just, manna from heaven. That was great, a young kid doing that in the North London derby. Oof.
How aware were you in the ground of the referee's performance at in the first half?
I mean, I don't want to turn this into another ref rant following, our previous discussions about Brighton, but it's linked also to the fact that I watched the second half of Bournemouth-Chelsea yesterday, which is now a record-holding game for 14. The most number of yellow cards. And watching the game, just on the football and, the interaction between the two teams, it was not a 14 yellow card game. It was nowhere near that. Similarly today, quite a number of yellow cards. I don't even know how many.
Well, actually, 7 in the first half, which is a Premier League record.
Well, it's ridiculous. And I said this again, people around me, I said, a lot of these yellow cards aren't about the game, they're about the referee. Look, you absolutely shouldn't, verbally abuse refs and this, that and the other, and that's absolutely fine. But if there cannot be a discussion between players and referee about what's going on the pitch, then I think something's certainly being lost. And it just seemed like, all this pettiness about delaying restarts, which we know is just pointless after discussing the whole Declan Rice thing. I can't even
Was it a case of, from where you were watching, was it a case of he set the bar with that quite dubious card for Saliba? I think, was that the first booking?
Yeah, it was.
And then from there on, it's a case of trying to, I've drawn a line in the sand here. I have to kind of go from here almost.
You say that. Pedro Porro kicked the ball away 10 yards in front of the referee. Nothing.
No. Well,
exactly.
We're all keeping tallies on that one now, aren't we?
Well, the interesting thing about Jared Gillett is he's Australian, and so is Postecoglou. So well done, PGMOL again. Luckily, we won the game, because there was a potential handball in the first half for us.
Right. So no idea about the handball, but the other things I want to say is, first of all, from our low position in the away ground looking out, first of all, whoever's decision it was to make us play in black, because apparently our kit would have too much white on it. What an absolute nonsense that is. I mean, it was literally... The first time it went up the other end and we had a corner, everyone's looking going, our players have just disappeared into the crowd. It was just ridiculous. Because no one's wearing red at Tottenham, are they? Let's face it. It's just...
No.
Just doesn't happen. The big thing from an Arsenal point of view is the offside play-on decision. So a ball's gone up, I assume from the Spurs keeper or a deep defender, over the top. The Spurs player, the attacker, is offside, but we've won the ball and we are now trying to progress the ball down one side. But it's all in the middle of the pitch, so it's nowhere near a goal mouth. There's no chance going to be taken or taken away. It's just a nothing. But after what felt like a quite long time, the referee has stopped the game. We're in possession, but we're the ones who are going to have the free kick for offside, and the referee's blown the whistle. Well, everyone lost their minds at that because it seemed so pointless. And they talk about delaying the game and interrupting the flow. Well, he did that, and that was all on him. And it was just totally unnecessary. And because I want to try and offer some kind of balance, I know in the group, because a lot of my messages were not coming through and I wasn't being able to keep up with your conversation real time. But obviously I saw the fact that, Timber's tackle, barely a yellow, I think I read in the sort of messages. Well, when it happened in the time, look, we see it live, full speed, we get one shot at it. I sort of turned and went, I don't know about that. The foot seemed over the ball a little bit, and then it created that flashpoint, a few, handbags at dawn kind of situation. And you do wonder at that point if the ref will step in, take a more severe action and play it out. So the fact that Timber came away without even a yellow card, I was really quite surprised at. I think the red would have been.
He got a yellow. He got a yellow straight away.
Okay,
yeah.
Fine.
Ref booked him immediately, and I think I can see why. I don't know. I watching it again. It is. I'd want a yellow if it was. I'd want a yellow for the opposition player if it was the other way around.
Can I just say how proud I was of him grabbing Vicario by the collars and just having a little moment there of.
You take them all on.
It's as if it felt afterwards like they've all been given a manual of how to play a derby because they were all on it. I felt, they really knew what it meant, and Timber, it's like he's played 3 games for us, and he's straight in there.
He's making up for lost time, isn't he?
First full 90, I think.
Yeah, I thought he was outstanding.
Yeah,
we'll
come to individual players, but yeah, it was a flip of a coin who got man of the match. I thought Timber was everywhere. He was brilliant.
Yeah, a guy I travelled with sort of said what he liked about him, seeing him in the flesh for a bit more, was he said he never was interested in getting either, that whole old-fashioned kind of touch tight to the winger, as long as he sort of just knew where he was, and then he could anticipate, because he's got the speed to get where he needs to be, and he just reads the game so well. Really, really impressive.
And he reminded me, Martin Keown used to be given the nickname Rash because he was all over the opposition attacker, and Timber was like that. Timber gave nothing. Like nothing, there was no joy at all. The Spurs fans have been, gone quite hard on. Is it Brannan Johnson saying, well, he got no? But I think Timber takes all the credit for that because it didn't matter who was there. They were getting no joy out of Timber. He was supreme. All right.
Who did get man of the match?
Gabriel.
Yeah, of course.
64 minutes. Now, one of the consequences of the Rice red card was not just his absence for the game, but what we missed from the set piece with him. And Saka did take a few duds before this one. Right in front of you guys, Saka taking the corner. How good of you, did you get of it? And could you see it unfolding before it actually happened? It was one of those, wasn't it?
No, not really.
Gabriel was on his own. He rose like a salmon.
Yeah.
He was
pushed the defender away a little bit. Is that it?
Romero,
hang on. Romero had positioned himself pretty badly for that. He was he'd got on his blind side a bit. Gabriel had got on his blind side. He wasn't goal side properly, Romero, and it was a nudge. I mean, if you want to talk about pushes in the back, let's go back to the Newcastle game, last season.
Oh, let's not.
That's a proper push in the back. No, this was nothing. It'd be very hard to pull him up on that.
I mean, I'll put some pictures
it's all
out
on
later,
Romero.
After we finish here, I'm probably just going to go to sleep. But I take a few pictures at the start. You do the whole thing of mainly to jog my memory later of what games I've actually been to. But then Saka was just literally down there right in front of us. So I thought, I'll just get a little picture of him. And then he scores from that corner. It was just absolutely magic. But like you say, he'd taken that short one in the first half, which, they'd clearly had some idea of what was going on, but that didn't come off at all. Another one, got cut out near post. So it was all a bit... Another one was overhit later.
I love the celebration though, the Gabrielle celebration. I tell you what, just you said it, Chris. They clearly know what it means to the fans because they felt it, and it felt genuine themselves.
Yeah,
that was proper, raw emotion,
visceral.
Yeah,
and the relief. It was still 0-0, and it was a tight game, and they knew that
how big it was.
Those kind of chances were going to be few and far between. We actually didn't work their keeper an awful lot. We got in some good positions, but it never seemed to come off. So it was a glorious header, and the away end just sort of popped off. It was just absolutely brilliant.
Can I give a nod to Ben White as well, because he was back to his nuisance with the goalkeeper. Clearly, even though there was a defender between him and the goalkeeper, as I think Neville must have pointed out in commentary or co-commentary, like the keeper was grappling with his own player by the time the ball was landing on Gabriel's head. It was like we were so much inside his head. He was probably thinking he's going to trying to get my gloves off again or something. But it was
or he
clearly
just got confused by the kit colour. I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah. Possibly, but that was pretty kind of what was relief. I think. Well, my feeling was relief immediately followed by blind panic and terror and anxiety, thinking, "Oh God, it's like 30 minutes before the game's over. Can we? Oh, it's never gonna." Yeah, I think they had 5 attempts on goal after we scored,
all quite
and the
weak
XG.
shots.
And the XG of all of those were like 0.01, 0.04, 0.01.
Well, they were pot shots, weren't they?
So
really.
It's another
testament
game
to
in hindsight that felt more nervous than it actually was.
Well, obviously, yeah.
But it's amazing how many times I feel that with this team, and especially last season.
And yet. There's little reason to.
No, I know.
It's a diminishing, record of times we've actually conceded the goal. I know
it means
Brighton,
nothing when you're watching live, though, does it?
Well, I think it's just it must be our nature, and because I could never imagine myself being one of those fans that before his game's like, oh yeah. We'll smash these. We'll beat these. I just don't feel that way.
Steph, you of all people know.
Exactly.
I'm not even like that, and I'm the most positive of the three of us, maybe marginally over Chris. But even I got several messages from people who are not like avid football fans as such, but they know that I am, and they knew the game was on, and they were obviously keeping abreast of the score because I got messages that read like. Pacing ... It's like yes, I am actually.
So they're more just concerned about your mental well-being.
I was sweeping. I was like, absolutely right. Look, so individual players like I've written down. Raya was. It's so nice to have a keeper that you have absolute trust in.
Love him.
Like. Ramsdale, loved him as I did, but there was always that risk or potential of a thing. With Raya, the more games that pass, and this season in particular, it's only 4 games in, but he has got 3 clean sheets already.
Player of the month.
Mental, yeah. So
a goalkeeper.
And again, he exudes or emits confidence and calmness as well. There's no panic. Yes, there's no panic. There's no like, God, that was lucky. Again, the ball he got to, he pushed it the kind of cross almost. He was so good. He got to it, but he pushed it out wide behind the Spurs player, not to or in front of the Spurs player, which is really important. A little thing perhaps, but he obviously knew where he was putting it before he made contact with it, which is great. Obviously, Gabriel and Saliba made some real kind of immense interceptions in the first half in particular. His booking was a bit silly, but Neville trying to say that Saliba was being bullied by Solanke. I'm not sure what game he was watching. Timber I thought was like just brilliant. So there's 4 of the back 5. White had probably the tougher opponent in Son, but Son didn't do anything in the game.
Well, he died early in the first half.
But
he always
White did all right.
So.
And and the hard yards put in by the front three were impressive. I must admit, I did like Jorginho, and I mean Jorginho's first football for quite a long time, and so you can forgive him for that. But Partey seems to be developing this habit of ceding possession in very dangerous places, and we've just been a bit lucky that we've not been punished so far. And again, you do that at City on Sunday, and it'll be a different story. And Partey will play in that game, you know, whether Rice or Ødegaard are both back or not. Partey will definitely play. So he really does need to get himself up to speed, you know, a little bit quicker than he is. But so Chris, what about you? Who were your like men of the match? Mans of the match, men of the match,
men of the match,
man of the matches.
Yeah. English teacher, did you say?
Retired.
Okay.
Forced retirement.
I'd just echo what
owing
you said.
Owing to grammatical cock-ups.
Well, you're off duty. It's fine.
I am.
I'd just echo what you said, because I thought it was the defence and the front line and the way they got back, particularly, that I was impressed with. And I agree. I just thought between them, Jorginho and Partey did just enough, but neither of them were above a 6, really. You know,
but they're not hiding either. You know, they weren't cowardly performances.
No, not at all. No,
But I worried before the game that there were kind of the profile of both players and the form of both players was such that was where my main concern was that Jorginho's coming in cold, and we know he's not great on those sort of transitions, pace, you know, power game, physical game. And Partey similarly has been giving away balls, you know, ridiculously in recent games, and he's getting on a bit. He doesn't have that transitional kind of pace as he once did. So that was my main concern. But I thought we sort of, you know, mitigated pretty well with Trossard and Havertz dropping in to help out, and then, like we said before, Saka and Martinelli basically coming back. And I had no shame in the 4-6-0 formation that we adopted at times. You know, what the hell? It's especially when we were one up. It's like we're not playing around here. It's shut up shop.
And all the Spurs fans I've heard talk about it, like normally you get, oh, you got lucky, or you just anti-football, but no.
How many times have we sat through that low block?
They appreciated the way we set out, and they realised they weren't good enough to break us down. They were getting, was it like that in the ground, Steph? They were getting, it appeared to me, they were getting increasingly agitated about their crab-like movement, their sideway passes.
Very much so. It was definitely more frustration with what was going on with themselves than anything particular to do with us. And even the flashpoints in the game, the referee's involvement, you know, irked both sides kind of equally. So even that didn't amount to much. I mean, you mentioned very briefly Havertz and talked about our sort of style. You know, it was also no coincidence that Raya was kicking long from goal kicks, because Havertz is that target man now, and he wins so many of his aerial sort of duels. It's just brilliant. He is such a competitor on the football pitch that work rate, and Martinelli was the same on the left-hand side. In fact, a lot of what we did in an attacking sense was a lot channeled down the left. Just the work rate was just unbelievable and really appreciated.
I'm sorry, I should apologise to Havertz now, because he's the first name I've written down on my list of players to mention, but I just didn't read his name out. I thought he must be, you know, in a team of just like ridiculously talented, hard-working players. He must be one of the first ones on the team sheet. You know, he's really become one of the irreplaceables, as opposed to the non-negotiables. The irreplaceables. He's like his. I mean, in the 92nd minute, and he play 2 games for Germany as well. Like, I mean, we'll in a few moments we'll have a little brief chat about Thursday's game, but before we get on to, in terms of like not picking our teams for it, but in terms of what we might do in terms of resting players, perhaps. But Jesus came back and Sterling made his debut. How did you view that, Steph, in the ground, those two respective performances? I know they're only on for like 10, 12 minutes.
Well, look, everyone was very appreciative of all the substitutes' work rate. Again, that's everyone coming off the bench as well as those players that started. We talked about Nwaneri, looked to the manner born, I think.
He's so exciting. He's such an exciting prospect.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right in the sense that, this wasn't bringing him on 4 or 5-0 up against West Ham. We were only 1-0 up against Spurs. We needed an outlet. He came on and he was excellent in what he did as a little cameo, which really bodes well. And Jesus just works. There wasn't a huge amount of telling inputs that he could do. Sterling's a slightly different one though, because there was that run and then he kept shifting across the box when really he should have pulled the trigger sooner or passed. I don't know what was on from the angle I was at.
If you see Match of the Day later, right, he should absolutely have squared it. We had two players coming on that would have run onto that.
And I think, what's that a case of? That will colour a lot of people, especially those in the ground. That will colour what they take away from Sterling, saying, he needs to sharpen up here. But I thought, in terms of his fitness, in terms of his commitment, he came on, he's tracking back,
Well, that's his first football since
exactly.
May.
He's going to, no Euros, frozen out at Chelsea. So he looks hungry for it. And I think a lot of people are, like me, very warmed to the prospect of Sterling. And if you say, if it offers us that rotation, whether it's Saka that he can cover for, or whether it's anywhere else along the front line, we've got 6, or 7 forwards now that we can interchange with. We just need to get everyone fit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would start both Sterling and Saka and Jesus on Thursday, for example, away at Atalanta, because I want them. They need to get up to speed. They need match fitness. I thought Jesus was pretty poor when he came on. He gave away the possession a lot. He also conceded a couple of really dangerous free kicks. And he had an opportunity in the 93rd minute, or the 94th, to run into the corner with the ball. Instead, he cut inside and lost possession, Spurs on the attack again. I was screaming at him in the middle of my sweeping, obviously.
His hair. Did he have cornrows in?
Yeah.
I'm not a fashionista.
Inspired by Sterling, clearly.
Were they?
Yeah.
For me, it was just good to see all 3 subs for different reasons coming on.
It was exciting.
And I agree. Well, I wasn't excited at the time. I was very nervous. But I think, like you said, Holly, I would like to see the older 2 basically getting a start on Thursday. For that very reason, get them up to match fitness, because when they come on, they need to hit the ground running, basically, as subs.
Metaphorically. Literally.
Literally, yeah.
Well, Saka went off injured, and that's a bit of a concern, a bit of a worry. We don't know. We're kind of surmising what the injury might be, but it did look muscular as opposed to a knock, but they didn't show it. It wasn't one of those where he pulled up holding his hamstring or anything like that. I don't know. He had a game and a half, a game and 2/3 for England. He'd be a bit knackered. He had the Euros. I would not start him against Atalanta. Shall we just have a little chat about Atalanta? They kicked off at exactly the same time as we kicked off today. So they were at home to Fiorentina and they won 3-2. Ademola Lookman scored the winner, I think. Well, he certainly scored one of them. I did click out. They're lying 8th in Serie A. They've got 6 points from their first 4 games, so they've won their first, lost their second and third, and then won their fourth. They've scored 8 and conceded 8.
But Gasparini, the manager, is just this very forward-thinking coach. It's very open, it's very direct. But
I went through their lineup today, and apart from Lookman, there's one other name that you should be familiar with. Didn't
they have Zappacosta, who was at Chelsea?
No, it is an Arsenal connection.
Oh, right, okay.
Let's put it this way: if he starts, we'd be feeling a lot more confident.
Have they got
Mustafi?
A defense? Well, it's
Socrates.
No, I thought Socrates was okay, but Mustafi is more in the
Mustafi mould.
Yes.
David Luiz.
Kolasinac.
Oh, Sayad.
Oh, the
wow.
tank. Oh,
Yes.
He
Okay.
started
So he
well
started-
at Arsenal.
He started today's game.
The tank.
But rotation, I think I know it's Champions League, and it's important to get off to a good start. But we've got City away on
this is
Sunday, and we're not looking to get back into the Champions League. We're looking to win the league. So
Yeah.
the City game is more important.
Yeah.
I know some people will say, "Oh, why would you play a weakened team for the Champions League when you're trying to get back into the Champions League?" No, we're not trying to get back into the Champions League. We're trying to win the league, and the City game trumps Atalanta.
And we've got
we can
half
lose
a
the
dozen
Atalanta
injuries.
game. Sorry?
We've got half a dozen injuries.
Yeah, so we don't know about Calafiori. No mention of him. Zinchenko obviously was a surprise omission, but an injury also. I think the 7 first-team players were missing.
Yeah.
I know Tierney's back in training.
Wow.
I mean, I love the guy, but
Well,
really?
he could play at left-back.
Yeah.
Give Timber a rest.
Where's Tommy
You've got to be
Asu?
careful with Timber. You've got to be careful with Timber because
Yeah.
a year out, and he's already had a little bit of a setback where he missed, was it the second game of the season? So
Calafiori would be great if he was fit for the Atalanta game.
I thought you thought he was fit.
Well, I thought he was going to be fit today on the bench.
No, I didn't mean that fit. Sorry.
Oh, fit. Oh, okay. What is it? It's 9:15. I'm fading.
You are.
Yeah. Good stamina, Steph.
Oh,
Stamina,
it was
Steph.
good.
That should be your moniker.
It was good.
Steph. I could hear the song after the 64th minute in the away end.
Well, look, Gabriel was getting a lot of love, obviously. 'Cause
How was
scored
he?
the
How
goal.
has that been demonstrated? Or illustrate some of that for us.
My voice is gone already. I've got to teach tomorrow.
That's more authentic then. That's
Look,
more
shut up,
authentic.
Shut up. But what really took off was there keeps, because it's so easy to adapt. The Trossard Ole Ole song is being adapted, so it was 3 points Ole Ole Ole, 3 points again Ole Ole, and Tottenham are SHIT Ole Ole. That was going around a lot. 3 in a row even got a run out Ole Ole Ole. Especially walking away from Tottenham, and they sort of kettle you towards Northumberland Park, and there's the odd Spurs fan coming the other way, getting a few rounds of it. It was great.
What's the Gabrielle song, Steph?
The Gabrielle song is very long and very loud. What you'll have to do is keep an eye out on our socials for some of the videos taken on the concourse in the runaround. And my ears are ringing because of that din. They've got that metal staircase. I think I've mentioned it before, and people just bang on it the whole time.
It,
It's an absolute din of noise. It's just insane. But I love
just think, I think, Holly, it's only fair you mention the mascot, just in case
of
people
course,
have missed
yes.
it, just to kind of leave on, because I think it's so wonderful.
It set the tone for the game, didn't it? In the tunnel. If you haven't seen it, you must Google it. It'll be doing the rounds. But the mascot in the tunnel, the Spurs mascots, were high-fiving the Arsenal players. Were high-fiving the Arsenal players as they were coming back in from their warm-up. The Arsenal mascot was having none of it. He jumped in, he pushed one of them away. Get back, they're my players. It was absolutely...
They're all about 10.
a thing
I
of
think might be
wonder.
even younger than that.
Yeah, I'd say they were younger than that, indeed. I would have been so proud if that was
What a
my
gooner.
son.
What a gooner.
He's read the manual, hasn't
Yeah. I'd be playing that. That's your team talk done, isn't it? Look at the passion. That's like getting Stuart McFarlane in to talk about what it means to him.
Right,
Get that mascot in.
Get the same mascot away at Man City next week.
I love this club.
Right, lovely.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing negative at all. Brilliant. All fantastic. I mean, what a tough week we've got, and that is simply the best way of starting it off. Yeah, absolutely. The context for that game already, game 4, was a must win. It wasn't a must not. Now, see, City on Sunday becomes a must not lose. There you go. So that's which is fine. Whereas it's not a must win now. It's just a must not lose. That's fine. Although, as we will preview the City game on Friday, I'm going to mention Rodri and his comments at the end of last season. So look, come on, we can dwell on that for the week. Let it rise inside us. Come on. Anyway, we'll be back on Friday. We'll have a look back at the Atalanta game and a look forward to the game on Sunday. Thank you very much for the chat, gents, and thank you very much for listening and watching. We're on YouTube. Hello.
It's happened again.
See ya.
It's happened again. Shuffle your pages now.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company. Yay!
What were you pointing at, Chris?
Just the information on the little...
No, that was on the other side to me.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, you were pointing at your mic.
Was I? On my screen, it's